What up, fam? Welcome back to another lesson with Mr. Biza. And in today's lesson, we're going to be learning how to find the volume of a rectangular prism. So, first thing I want to remember is volume is the total capacity of a 3D object. Volume is the total capacity of a 3D object. That means it describes how much space the object takes up. It describes how much space the object takes up. Whenever we're finding volume, we need to figure out what is the base of our shape. So remember, the base of a 3D object is how we name the shape. So in this problem, we're working with rectangular prisms, so we know that the base of our prism is going to be a rectangle. So let's go ahead and look at what one of these rectangular prisms looks like. Alright, so here we have a couple of different rectangular prisms. So all of these rectangular prisms have rectangles for bases. So if I were to look at this side right here and down here at the bottom and say that I'm shitting those in so we can see that these two could be my bases. This is a rectangle down here and this is a rectangle up here. Remember that a prism has two bases which are parallel to each other and they never touch. So there's a rectangle at the top, a rectangle at the bottom, and the height right here is the distance between those two faces. On this next rectangular prism, I have my rectangle up here, and I also have a rectangle at the bottom. I can say these two are my bases. They're both parallel, and the height is the distance between those two bases. My bottom could be down here. It could be this face up here. They're two different bases that are parallel, and the height is the distance between them. I could say this tall piece right here at the very top is my base up here on the top, and then down here at the bottom could be my other base, and the height is the distance that's between them. So let's remember, our lesson today is finding the volume inside of each one of these rectangular prisms. I want to know how much space is in there. So volume can be determined by finding the formula volume equals base times height. So remember that in today's lesson, we're talking about finding the volume of a rectangular prism. Volume can be determined by the formula V equals B times H. The letter V stands for volume. The big B stands for the base of our shape. In this case, we're talking about rectangular prisms, so our base is going to be a rectangle. And the letter H stands for our height. Remember that height is the distance between our two bases. Alright guys, so here we have an example of a rectangular prisms and all the different dimensions of our rectangular prism. So we have 6 centimeters down here, 9 centimeters right here, and 5 centimeters going up and down. So when I'm working on these kind of problems, I like to set up step by step what I need to do to figure out how to find a rectangular prism. So I'm going to draw a little table over here to help me figure out all the different steps I need to do to figure out rectangular prisms. The volume of rectangular prisms. When I'm trying to figure out the volume of a rectangular prism, I'm going to use the formula volume equals base times height. Our base of this shape was a rectangle. And before, when I would use my formulas to figure out the area of a rectangle, I didn't use big B to represent the area. I used length times width. So what I'm going to do, since I'm working with a rectangle as my base, I'm going to rewrite this formula as volume equals length times width times my height. So this is going to be my new formula. The second step I want to do after I do that formula is I want to plug in all of those values. So now I'm going to substitute each one of these values from my picture over here for each one of these variables. So instead of saying volume equals length times width times h, I'm going to plug in some numbers. So I'm still looking for volume, so I'm still going to have the letter V. My length, I always like to think about my length when I'm looking at my rectangle as the long side. So the base, I always like to think is the bottom. So between the number 6 centimeters and 9 centimeters, 9 centimeters is going to be my long side. So I'm going to multiply 9 for my length, 9 centimeters, times my wider side at the base is going to be 6 centimeters. And then my height is how far my two bases are from each other. So the base at the bottom, my base at the top, and the distance between those two bases is 5 centimeters. Alright, so now I've substituted all my numbers. So what I want to do is, when I substitute all those numbers, what I want to do is figure out my last step, and that is to find the volume. So I'm going to go ahead and solve. So now I can do my math. 9 times 6. Alright, so I went ahead and worked out the problem. First thing I did was I multiplied 9 centimeters times the 6 centimeters, which gives me 54 centimeters squared, because centimeters times centimeters equals centimeters squared. Now my last step is to multiply that last 5 centimeters. So 55 centimeters squared times 5 centimeters is going to give me 270 centimeters cubed, because I have centimeters times another centimeter times another centimeter. So I'm multiplying it 3 times, so I can rewrite that as centimeters cubed. Remember, whenever we're finding volume, our units are going to be in centimeters cubed. Centimeters to the power of 3. Alright guys, so if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe down there. And until next time, bye!